And you made mention of the fact that there was a caucus. I was very happy when you made mention of the fact that there was a caucus. Yes, it took a whole lot of it. You said Louisa says her grandmother was even an activist. I'm sure if I go into the annals of history of my family, I'm sure I'll find yes. Exactly. We can't have everybody's face on the notes, but then we can have some notable ones on the notes because they did some exceptional work. They were in the caucus. They championed the cause.
I'm sure
if not for anything,
I'm sure people are thinking, but Annie, your great-grandfather was part of the caucus.
Yeah, you see. Everybody's family, when you dig your history, I'm sure you find something. Who didn't want independence? Who wants to be under British colony? Who would have loved to be under British colonial rule?
JB Danquah didn't want it.
He didn't want independence.
Yes, but he wrote a letter, and the letter is there. Thank God by our generation we can still see.
Well, anyway, JB Danquah represents JB Danquah. There were other four. I'm sure they wanted the independence.
No, but then you are
that is where your party was
then
born
you are digressing because it is the same thing that His Excellency is even championing.
No, I know about the fact that no, it's not like he wanted it, but then Osajifo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah said self-governance now, and probably they were looking at self-governance in a more later.
They said in the
shortest
possible time.
And so
what is the shortest
possible time? Is any time shortest possible.
You see, leadership takes a lot to take bold decisions.
Exactly.
You cannot say, okay, I have a meeting with you. You've come and I'm not there. You call me. You are not here. Where are you? I'll be there soon. Is that good enough for you? Me, if I have a meeting with you and give me that answer, I'll be very angry.
Because I'll be there soon could mean
I'll be there soon. Yes.
Later in this.
Oh, I'll be there exactly by
at this time
or 8:30. Do you understand?
Well, sometimes people don't want to show themselves in the foot. So they'll tell you they'll be there soon, and then they know probably. So you see, Louisa, Louisa was actually like going into infrastructure in terms of infrastructural developments, and she was talking about Osajifo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah built Kotoka International. Now I know I'm very much sure Louisa is very much aware we have an international airport in Kumasi that Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo has brought into being.
That's my party started and championed.
Oh, but which one did your party not start? Your party seemed to have started everything.
My party started and championed.
How did your party start?
Phase one, who commissioned it? Who started what?
And now we have Sunyani Airport. We have Tamale International Airport. All under this government. We have whole airports that you left to its fate that we've come to put into being.
How did they leave it to its fate?
No, but they started the paperwork, and then we saw the sites deserted and everything, and then we came.
Power changed.
And then we came to complete
Power
it.
changed.
No,
but when you also say that they deserted, you have to be politically correct.
So power changed, and then we came, and we didn't say it was started by the
obliged to do it.
Yes, and we did it. Yes, and we've done it. At least we can talk about whole airport. We can talk about Sunyani Airport, Prempeh, the first international airport, Kumasi, and then some other notable ones. So having a day or setting a different day to celebrate these five men, in addition to Osajifo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, I thought Louisa was going to look away from politics and then at least be neutral on this one, because we are talking about Ghana and independence, and there wasn't anything like NPP or NDC at the time. We just had CPP and then other ones. We are talking about people.
We had a UP tradition.
We had a UP tradition and all that. That's why I said other ones. So we are talking about people. Yes, their faces are on the notes. But Anne, how often did you hear of them being given a mention on Founders Day?
How often do you want to hear them?
Just like we are doing now. Now, in our history books, we have given them a place in our history books. We learn about them in school. We do all of that. But we are saying that on Founders Day, we shouldn't celebrate just Osajifo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah. We should celebrate the five as well. If not for anything at all, we know about the big six, and the five adds up to Osajifo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah to make the big six.
Okay.
So is this too much to ask for?
Do you know Nelson Mandela?
Yeah, I know about Nelson Mandela.
Why is he being celebrated, or is he celebrated by South Africans?
Yeah, because Nelson Mandela, yes, the long walk to freedom. Yeah, he went to prison for about 27 years. But Anne, when you go to South Africa, it's not just Nelson Mandela that is celebrated. Archbishop Desmond Tutu, and then some other notable ones are also celebrated.
Yes, but you know that South Africans will not put Archbishop Desmond Tutu to Mandela.
I've not really.
Every nation, especially with Africans that were colonized, every nation have that icon that stands out.
Osajifo remains that icon. Nobody is taking that from him. And has anybody who can fight the fact that Osajifo is the icon when it comes to Ghana's independence? Who can fight the position of Osajifo as being the icon of our independence? Nobody can take that from him. generations now, generations to come, nobody will be able to take the place of Osagyefo Doctor. You can't replace his position with any other person. Like I told you about Dede Ashikisha and then the immense contribution she made towards our fight for independence in terms of money, in terms of financing the
her picture should be on the flyer too.
No, that's not the point I'm trying to make. We can't have everybody's picture on the flyer, but we can't also having the big five or giving them a mention on Founders Day or celebrating them on Founders Day to make it not look like Osagyefo did the fight alone. It's also not far-fetched. It's also not too much asked for. You understand? So, and I thought Louisa, I was thinking Louisa could have looked away from politics.
If
not for anything, today is Founders Day.
Beyond Big Sis. There's some mention of numbers, which I say.
Okay, however we came by the Big 6. However we came by the Big 6, or whichever way whatever brought us to the Big 6 is what we are talking about now. Yes, there were other numbers, and then we didn't hear of the Big 10 or the Big 20. We know about the Big 6. So the Big 6 should be celebrated on Founders Day because they all helped to fight for independence. Yes, even though one person championed the cause, one person did a greater way. That is why he is the icon. That is why he is Louisa. Louisa is trying to do mischief. Is he not more popular than all the others? He's popular. He's known everywhere. He's celebrated everywhere. But here in Ghana, we are saying that the other 5 need to be celebrated. You know, Akwaje died in 2002 or something. I didn't even know the man was alive. You see, Akwaje could have been celebrated, given some form of national. You know, I never knew about him. I never knew about his existence until a public announcement was made of his demise. And I think it was not fair to him because he was also part of the struggle for independence. He contributed his quota one way or the other. So that is what the president is saying. He has got nothing to do with his family. How many of the Big 6 constitute his family? William Oforiatta, Edward Akufo-Addo, and then JB Danquah. They are just 3.
So you're saying that Nkrumah led us to independence and therefore founded Ghana. But there were other supporting members.
And that is why he was the only president of Ghana.
Okay. Yes, so these supporting members
yes,
should also be recognized. Even though at the time Nkrumah was championing independence, they fought against it, that we don't want it now.
They wanted it at a more later.
So, but we still
it didn't mean they didn't want independence.
So fine. But the difference is that they didn't want it now. They didn't want at the time Nkrumah was fighting for it. However, once Nkrumah has fought for it, and we won it, we should still mention them.
Oh, but the fact that but it's also not fair to say that the fact that they didn't want it now did not mean they didn't want it.
So when you
projected, that's JB Danquah wrote.
Yes.
There is this line in the last but one paragraph. I don't know if they
okay, can we have that letter, the JB Danquah letter? So my question really is, okay, I think you can go through. It's an old, script, so please pardon us. All the copies I'm getting, they are not so clear. So, okay, I think I see it clearly here.
Self-government now, and if rejected, to declare positive action, strikes and boycotts. There has been hectic activity all over the place, and on Sunday, we of the UGCC met at a great meeting and turned down his challenge flat.
Yeah.
So it meant that self-government now, whatever thing that Nkrumah was doing, they were fiercely opposing it. So if we have independence now based on Kwame Nkrumah's ideologies and his tactics, we shouldn't let people who fiercely opposed it all of a sudden become heroes in it. They started, as I already indicated, a lot of people helped in the
fact that they started is what we are talking about.
Many people, before they started, and before they formed UGCC, people have already started. That's why I took it back to the Ashanti Empire time, where they were fighting with the British. A lot of people, there was a Fanti Confederation. People all over the place were fighting for their freedoms and their independence. They wanted to control their own natural resources and make their own decisions. So it didn't start from when they created UGCC. People wanted independence before they even created UGCC. So if they fiercely opposed Kwame Nkrumah with the self-government now, and even had to write a letter to that effect, opposing him.
What actually, and this is to Grace as well, what led to the general elections which were held in Gold Coast, soon to become Ghana, I mean, on the 17th of July, 1956. And the results was that, which this has been a bit of some debate also on some media platforms when they are doing analysis. You can imagine how the debate actually goes. Okay, so the results indicated that Party CPP and MPP or UP at the time, Party CPP won 71 seats, and then the Simon Diodon Dombo won, that's the MPP, won 15 seats at the time. So there was clearly a different path that these two political parties wanted to take. Do you understand my point? So CPP took that path and decided to champion. This was 56, before we were declared 57 independence, right? I mean, we have even done well, have we not, by still recognizing the big six till date. Why the fight?
We are not fighting though. Why do we still have their names in our history books? Why do we learn about them when we go to school? And do you think the fact that JB Danquah wrote a letter to whatever happened, Louisa was reading the letter. Do you think if that really mattered to historians at the time, they would include the big five, or they would include their names in the history books? Then they would have found a way to remove them or give them a less mention or less recognition.
Will we be celebrating independence now?
Nkrumah was now what?
If through this letter he was eliminated,
and he wasn't eliminated,
would we have been celebrating? Exactly. So
well, we cannot be projecting if clauses because we don't know.
Yes, we're not there.
I'm saying. So we shouldn't be saying that we making. Enima, we understand your point.
Unconditional.
We understand your point.
I'm glad you understand my point.
But the facts remain simple. It took the self-governance now mantra to win independence.
And of course, somebody else contributed, whether or not he was for the self-governance now or not. They contributed. That is why they are giving a special spot in our studies in our schools. That is why you learn about the big six and not the others. Yes, there are others that you choose to do that. But then they are given a special spot because of their contribution. If not for anything at all, they brought him from London. They funded his coming. He became the general secretary, and some way, somehow, he became the frontliner and championed the cause of independence and said self-governance now, which the people bought into, and then we saw it in the light of day, and we won independence. But you can't overlook the fact that whether they were for the self-governance now or not, you can't overlook the fact that they also contributed.
So it's like, oh yeah, even though we're against it, it's fine. Let's all.
Exactly. So
when he was
opposed it.
So at the point when
that one I don't agree with.
So at the point when he was declaring the independence, where were they? At the Independence Square?
Were they not the ones in the Fugu who were standing beside him?
No. Did you see JB Danquah there?
Well, not their face.
JB Danquah's face is very common.
Was he not?
Go and watch that.
Was he not late?
He's not there.
No. Unless he died in prison. Well, I need to look into that history.
That video is
Bedema and Co has surrounded
I mean, there were different people.
I know from Lag Bedema and then
readily recall all the names.
I remember from Lag Bedema was there. Yeah, they have surrounded him. Okay.
Yes. So at the point I'm just trying to make is at the declaration, even at the declaration, there was no agreement.
Well, yeah, and the fact that they were not seen, maybe they were in the crowd. They were in the crowd. Louisa, this one day.
All right. So
you're not being fair to our big five. You, Louisa, this morning, I'll let them attack you when you get out. It's not being fair to them at all.
All right. Chumboafo says that, Annie, why stop at 6? Why don't we add Sergeant Ajete, Corporal Tipo, and Private Odate Lamte? And others who were murdered at the Christian Board crossroads. Why don't we add Pa Grant for being the one in whose house the UGCC started? Why don't we add Jacob Wilson Say, who wrote the check that financed the deputation to Queen Victoria that abrogated the Land Bill Act of 1891? If it had stood, would have turned the Gold Coast into another Rhodesia. So indeed, the reputation gave rise our Land Tenure Act, and that allowed the indigenous people of the land to own it. I could go on and on till the break of dawn. See the absurdity and plurality argument. The Danquah Buziazists will not change our history. we will restore Republic Day as promised by President Mahama. We will come, we will change the fascist Matimehu narratives that Napo and his ilk have placed in history books for our children. And we will place Kwame Nkrumah back on the rightful pedestal where it belongs.